What's the most effed up thing you did in a sleepover? Story 1. I was at a sleepover at my best friend's house in 7th grade. Her brother was 2 years older and really cute. All evening he asked if I'd come out with him after everybody was asleep. I said no, but of course, late that night, I felt him tugging on my foot. My friend and I were in her queen bed and he was at the end, whispering at me to please come talk to him. For some reason, I was finding the whole thing hilarious and trying to laugh quietly. Dude pulls his shorts down and shows me this massive boner. While impressed, it just set me off laughing harder. Finally, his sister rises straight up like the kid in The Exorcist and screams, "Michael, stop trying to get her to look at your boner." We exchanged a meaningful look as we heard his mother yell, "God damn it, Michael," and fling her door open. It was too soon for us. I had seen my first adult penis and I needed time to process it. We did go out when I was in 9th or 10th grade, but I never saw that beast again. Story 2. Played with matches. For years afterward, thought I'd burned my aunt and uncle's house down. I was staying with them. My cousin and I were lighting matches in the kitchen and throwing them in the sink to put them out. The head of one flew off and landed in the shelving unit by the sink, still smoking, but when we looked for it, we couldn't find it. It was the 80s, so all those kids don't play with matches ads were everywhere. Hours later, we were awakened by my aunt telling us to get out of the house because it was on fire. Watched their house burn to the ground and was terrified to tell them what we had been doing earlier. I just knew we had done it. I carried that guilt for years. When I was around 15-ish, which was many years later, I finally told my aunt. She started laughing, and after realizing I'd been thinking about this the whole time, she hugged me and explained it had been wiring in the back bedroom. I was an adult before I finally understood, after learning about how fire marshals investigate fires, that it wasn't just an assumption they'd made and could let go of that guilt. So I guess technically the most screwed up thing I did on a sleepover was traumatize myself for years. Story 3. So, I have a history of sleep talking, walking issues, and they're especially heightened when I'm stressed. I don't like being away from home, so sleepovers are a recipe for disaster for me. Lo and behold, I woke up one morning after my first sleepover to the horrifying news from my friend that I started sleepwalking and yelled karate chop over and proceeded to ruthlessly swing my arms into my friend's stomach, effectively waking her up out of dead sleep. We were 8. This was the first time I slept over her house, and I had never told her about my sleepwalking problems. She still makes fun of me about it to this day. Story 4. So, in college I lived in a 5-person dorm and we had one bathroom. All of those bitches always took mad long in there. I had to piss so badly. I had my Asa with me, my lil baby monster, my cat, and of course his litter box was in my room. Well, I didn't want to piss my pants or on the floor, so hey, I did what I had to do. It was so damn funny. The whole time my cat was watching me like, what the fuck are you doing? Story 5. I had to be 7 or 8. I learned about the word fuck and what it means, and was very excited to use it. So I got out my diary and wrote, "Megan is a fuck." I have no idea why I wrote that. That's my friend Megan, but I just wanted to write it out. So I was going to Megan's birthday party and it was a sleepover. So I stuffed my diary in my bag and went. The night went on and somehow my diary came out and people saw what I wrote about Megan. The party split up in 2. Some girls agreed that she was a fuck and the other half said she wasn't a fuck. This whole ordeal had the peacekeeper. So I split up a birthday party. Story 6. In Boy Scouts, I was the morning cook, meaning I woke up before anyone else to chop wood, make fire, and get water boiling. I grabbed the hatchet and started splitting a log into little splinters for kindling. It was cold and dewy. The hatchet slipped from my hand mid-upward, swing, and went flying to the tent circle. It seriously flew 10 to 15 yards and fell straight down the roof of a tent where for scouts were sound asleep. I'm not sure how long I waited to hear someone start screaming. I probably sat there in terrified anticipation for over a minute. Then I was worried someone might be hurt, so I crawled over to that tent where the hatchet landed. I super quietly unzipped the flap and saw it landed in a bag of clothes very close to some kid's head. I snuck in, grabbed the hatchet, left the tent, zipped it back up, and finished breakfast. I heard them at breakfast complaining that the raccoons has ruined their perfectly nice tent by clawing a hole in it. Story 7. I bathed my friend. Two of us stayed at a friend's house in our early teens. We raided their parents' liquor cabinet and proceeded to not understand how alcohol works. We drank every kind of liquor under the sun very quickly. Over the course of a few hours, we chased shots with popsicles and ate animal crackers to get the taste of gin out of our mouths. One of the three of us stood atop a small staircase into the living room, maybe for steps a few feet in distance. He swayed, grabbed onto the railing, turned pale, and then projectile vomited so violently that it all landed and splashed at the bottom of the staircase, leaving the steps clear minus a few drops. He then immediately fell down the stairs and began to laugh in a pool of his own vomit. We picked him up, dragged him to the bathroom, stripped off all his clothes, and shoved him in the shower. He had thick curly hair that was filled with bright red popsicle-colored animal cracker paste. I told him to put out his hands as he kept yelling to not tell everyone he had a small dick. Once he finally complied, I poured shampoo in his hands and told him to clean his hair. He slapped it all into his face, causing him to gag and his eyes to burn. At this point, I had to get him cleaned up. So I did. We had to get a belt and tightly tie what I can only describe as parachute shorts around his waist. We went to sleep afterwards and convinced ourselves no one in the house heard us. If this story is believed to be untrue, the reason I remember it so well is because that friend shouting about his dick had a bigger dick than me, and you never forget finding out your dick is small. Story 8. So, back in elementary, my mother demanded I give invites to every girl in my class. There was one girl I didn't like that ended up coming over. Spit in her mouth while she slept. It's been like 20 years, but as an adult I feel bad about it now. Story 9. Okay, so it was the summer between 8th and 9th grade. There was like 5 of us camping out. We had some beers and found some sticks and kerosene. Made some torches, but my buddies went out. He was holding the damn stick over the fire and asked another guy to pour some more fuel on his stick. It exploded, and a ton of the kerosene went all over his face and immediately caught on fire. We beat him with hoodies to put the fire out. I still have very vivid images of his face basically melting in front of me. He lived and got amazing skin grafts. Really can't even tell now. Story 10. We got drunk and went streaking on the beach at night. We were all guys, it just seemed like the thing to do. One of my friends couldn't find his clothes after returning from the ocean, but had a change of clothes at the friend's house. We left him on the pitch-black beach naked and vowed we would return and find him with his clothes. Well, we had to fuck with him, is what grade school guys do. So we waited a couple hours at the house and then ventured out to him. The guy was pissed. He had encountered multiple midnight walker tourists and had to retreat into the ocean to avoid being seen. We laughed our asses off and played Super Nintendo games until the sun rose. We went back out to the beach and never found his first set of clothes, but that was 24 years ago and we laugh about it to this day.